Is suicide the only way to change the course of events in Little Nightmares 2? Well, the game asserts that this is Mono's only way out. We know at the end of the narrative, our hero becomes the Thin Man, who creates the world of Little Nightmares. He devises the infrastructure necessary to control everything in the games. Mono's fate seems set in stone. One person, in the comment section of one of my videos, pointed out the other televisions in the starting area of the game. This isn't Mono's first rodeo. However, the importance of this piece of information alone is massive. If we assume this means Mono has tried to escape before and failed, it would give the other details in the game more significance. Little Nightmares has become a pervasive series in the horror genre because of its ambiguity. One piece of imagery could have 1,000 meanings. Suicide imagery is everywhere in the Little Nightmares universe. So I started thinking, why? Today, I wanted to talk about the Thin Man's control, why suicide is Mono's only way out, and another secret theory. But first, I wanted to say a quick thanks for all the love and support on this channel. I really appreciate it. I'm very. If you enjoyed this content, like and share with your friends. Also, don't forget to hit that sub and notification bell so you'll always see my latest content. Let's start at the beginning. Mono doesn't seem to have agency in the game. We don't get to choose where we go or what we do for the most part. What we feel is a perceived sense of control. Mono goes down a predetermined path to become the Thin Man. He tries to fight and kick his way out of the system, but like playing at a casino, the house always wins. Meeting Six seems to uplift them both. At least for now, he's not alone. Someone to share his suffering with, a friend whose hand he can hold. Although the future brings nothing but tragedy. As they traverse the world together, a rift grows between the two. Mono's ability to tap into televisions corrupts him. The propaganda on screen is too powerful and pervasive to resist. He falls into a rabbit hole of control set up by his future self. Isolation is an important component of Mono's character. When he is left to his own accord, yeah, things aren't looking too good. But when accompanied by a friend, we can see humanistic elements of his character. He constantly puts his life on the line for Six, even though he owes her nothing. When he loses his last social resource, then radicalization becomes that much easier. This is why one tactic of cults is to isolate their victims. It's hard to ground yourself without others to base your reality around. Plus, if isolation is a necessary part of Mono's process, this also lets us understand the Thin Man's goal. The Thin Man is one of the most pernicious bad guys in gaming history. When you think about the world he's cultivated, it's downright evil. The Maw is a great starting place. A cacophonous death machine, meant to fatten up guests and suck their souls. Or how about the school? A propaganda outlet with an authoritarian teacher. She instills fear into her students. They buy into her messaging, creating normal children, until you crack open their heads to find nothing inside. Not to mention an entire media apparatus designed to control and dictate reality. The viewers are similar to Mono in a way. I'm sure at first, they watched TV without thinking much of it, but as time went on, they got lost in the messages, only amalgamations of thought, created by the images on screen. The hospital makes mannequins and masks to create atrocities resembling humans. All these institutions have control as a central theme, ruling over the population both in mind and body. The trickiest issue for the Thin Man is setting up his perfect future while also protecting the past. If for whatever reason, Mono breaks out of the system of control, then his legacy is gone. However, a yellow beacon of hope stands in his way. Six may be the only person capable of saving everyone in Little Nightmare. Once she takes the lady's powers, we can see her kill the guests at the Maw, which doesn't look good, but to be fair, they weren't the best to her. However, we don't know what she'll do with her power after leaving her underwater prison. The secret ending of the second game implies she went to the Maw for a reason. The lady's power might be strong enough to defeat the Thin Man, or she's taking the next step in becoming the lady. It's hard to say, but one thing is for sure. Our enemy doesn't want Six spending time with Mono. I think this is because he realizes the power of their relationship. If enough people collectivize against the enemy, then he ceases to be relevant. Two outliers in his plan are more than enough to send things into disarray. So he goes out of his way to separate them, so things can go according to plan. Although, there's another reason that Six means so much to Mono. The boy with the bag over his face seems like an outcast for the most part. He's usually alone, and when he's surrounded by people, they try to hunt him. His name is significant for this very reason. He alone controls the world of Little Nightmares. This loneliness is a huge contributing factor. When Six abandons him, he begins to change. Six was one of the only people to recognize and value his existence. When you're alone, a single friend can make a world of difference. Her willingness to care for him is enough to change his perspective. So if Six really could change Mono, then eliminating her becomes the Thin Man's explicit goal. While he never managed to destroy Six, He influenced the boy with the bag over his head. Mono's one ray of hope is squashed out. Now there's only one option left. Suicide is everywhere in the Little Nightmares universe. The viewers commit suicide to get their fix for propaganda. Some walk into electrified water, others will walk off of buildings, zealously following his message, showcasing the horrific reality that the Thin Man cultivated. However, suicide is shown in more than one way in the game. There are several instances where it looks like clothes or other items are being hung. A lot of the time, these items can be seen near televisions, which could signify that this is one of the only ways to escape the messages on screen. Suicide imagery is actually in the first game as well. Besides the dead hanging person in the beginning, we can see in a storage area what looks to be hanging cloths, not to mention nooses are a means of travel. But why is this imagery important? Well, to me, it seems like the only way to stop the world of Little Nightmares. Mono has never found a way out of the system. After his countless attempts, he always starts and ends in the same place. Even with his only friend, he still loses to the systems of control. But if Mono had traveled down this road before, maybe his younger self left him clues on how to beat the Thin Man, which in the context of the games, makes a lot of sense. Six left herself clues with ropes on where to go next. So I believe future Mono could be telling himself that there is only one solution. When the media, schools, and all other institutions of power have complete control over a population, resistance becomes meaningless. Mono does have one trump card he's never used, himself. Without Mono, there is no Thin Man. If he took his own life similar to the viewers, the systems of control and the entire empire he built would crumble. But the real question is whether or not he did take his own life. The person hanging in the maw could be the Thin Man. If we assume the time loop exists, then it's reasonable to assume Six is the lady, given there are countless pieces of evidence. But the ending of the first game doesn't make sense for the time loop. If the girl in the yellow coat was given an evil gift, why wouldn't she perpetuate the system in place? The lady feeds on others' souls to survive. The maw seems designed to make this happen. So unless Six has some soul searching to do before becoming the lady, it seems like she's choosing a different fate. Although in Little Nightmares, this should be impossible, right? The Thin Man knows this little girl can bring his demise. He would have planned for this given his neurotic attention to detail, which is true when we think about the maw. Six shouldn't be able to escape, but she gets lucky. With all of these enemies, there's no way a kid is sneaking through all of this. Not to mention, the ship is designed to capture escapees. Even if she did somehow manage to get through everything, the Thin Man would have had contingencies. However, at the end of the game, she leaves. I believe this is because the hanging person at the beginning of the game is the Thin Man. Six could be in a loop where Mono finally finds a way to break the cycle. Plus, it's also strange how a random person kills themselves at the bottom of the maw right next to Six. To me, this seems like way too much of a coincidence. If the hanging person were the Thin Man, then there would be a context for this. Mono and Six inhabit the systems of control that the Thin Man designed. Trying to run from fate doesn't get you anywhere in Little Nightmares. When the school and the media join in the fight, escape becomes impossible. All these forces working together can crush any outlier in a system. As Mono tries to break the cycle, something inside of him begins to break. Everything is going according to plan. The girl in the yellow raincoat is his only enemy, a beacon of hope that stands out against the darkness. She has the power to change the future, so the Thin Man separates the two, destroying their bond over and over. Isolation overwhelms our hero and throws his life into disarray. He begins to realize that he has no freedom or power in this system. No matter how fast he runs, he can't escape destiny. The Thin Man systems of control are too strong, so Mono stops running. Instead, he uses the only shred of agency he has to sacrifice himself for the greater good. But in doing so, he gives his closest friend the means to escape from her tragic circumstances. Even though she betrayed him, her recognition was enough. Because of all the memories they shared, he takes his life next to his old friend and leaves her an apology note to atone for what he's become. But this is all just a theory. Thanks for checking out this video. Let me know in the comments your thoughts or theories regarding Little Nightmares. Also, who do you think the Hanging Man is in the first game? I'd love to hear from you.